Exercise Psychology presentation by Ben Hammond. Hi, my name's Ben Hammond and I'm going to present to you my coaching strategy for increasing the intrinsic motivation in youth sports participants and describe how I would implement this strategy. Firstly, we need to ask what factors affect the intrinsic motivation of youths in sport. This way we can get a better understanding of the factors that need to be addressed. Secondly, I'll present my strategy designed to increase the intrinsic motivation of youth sports participants. And finally, I will describe how we can implement this strategy. Within youth sports, there are three key groups that directly impact the participants: the coaches of the teams, the parents of the participants, and the teammates and peers of the participants. From the literature examined, there was a general consensus that the coach plays the most vital role in the athlete's sporting experience. More specifically, the style of coaching that is administered can highly affect the athlete's intrinsic motivation. Jack Watson II, Ian Knoll, and Peter Kadashin suggest that letting athletes have some control over the practice session can go a long way to helping boost the self-esteem, independence, and intrinsic motivation of the kids. In addition, based on some of Jack Watson II's findings, coaches can teach young athletes new ways to think for themselves and reflect on their performance, rather than relying on the coach's feedback. These sort of changes may provide long-term life skills well beyond their time in sport programs. After coaches, both parents and peers have a great impact on the motivations and experience of participants. A Swedish study by Helen Gesar, Velo Hein and Martin Hager illustrate that both parents and peers will factor into a young athlete's perception of competence. When looking at this information through a self-determination theory perspective, it is evident that ensuring a positive environment is available to promote the growth of intrinsic motivation. In regards to parents, our textbook by Richard Cox illustrates the extreme end of the spectrum when the desire to win boils over into violence. Common sense would suggest that this kind of behaviour by parents is no way to promote positive and supportive developmental environments for children. Now for the strategy I have developed. The goals of this strategy are to maximise a young athlete's perceptions of autonomy and competence through fostering new friendships, developing a strong supportive environment aimed at teaching athletes new skills while minimising the opportunities for anxiety, and ensuring that this message is consistent both at practice, competitions and home. With the information we have about intrinsic motivation of youth in sport and how it can be facilitated or undermined, I have developed a three-pronged strategy to develop the intrinsic motivation of youth sports participants. Firstly, we'll tackle the coach-athlete relationship. Self-determination theory teaches us that an athlete of any age will report greater levels of satisfaction if they perceive acceptable levels of both autonomy and competence. By applying a task-focused or mastery-oriented coaching style, athletes will learn to place value on personal mistakes they have achieved, rather than being as concerned over the physical result. Nikki Dawes and Reed Larson's 2010 paper expands on this idea by showing that you show a stronger engagement to tasks when an element of fun is present and the pressure of a win-focused mentality is removed. The second stage of my strategy is to help foster peer relationships within the teams by implementing a peer mentorship program. This means having senior players on the team be assigned as a mentor to a player of lesser experience. One 2011 paper illustrated positive outcomes for all athletes as the mentors were able to develop critical thinking skills and a boost to their self-esteem, while mentees developed a greater sense of competence as well as the facilitation of new social skills. The final aspect of my strategy is to educate parents about the role that they play in the psychological development of their children and how their actions can have either positive or negative effects on their feelings of self-esteem and intrinsic motivation. Much like the strategy to promote mastery-oriented coaching styles, parents need to reinforce this message both at games and at home. Finally, we need to discuss how we can implement this strategy in a manner that casts a wide net and reaches as many youth sports participants and their parents as possible. Step 1 is to conduct pre-season seminars for coaches of youth sports programs, which can be delivered on a club, school or regional basis before the commencement of that particular sports season. These seminars would focus on administering task-focused coaching strategies, as well as some different ways to promote autonomy and competence within athletes, regardless of whether they win, lose or draw. This will also be the time to introduce the peer mentorship program to be facilitated by coaches within their teams. Step 2 for implementing this strategy is to produce an educational booklet for the parents of all youth sports participants that can be distributed on sports registration days. This booklet will emphasise the importance of supporting their child's personal achievements and enjoyment rather than adopting a win-at-all-cost mentality. By implementing this strategy to the major participation sports in the country, it is likely that a large cross-section of youth sports participants will benefit from improved coaching, better relationships with peers, and an environment that celebrates improvement, enjoyment and sportsmanship.